What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Technical Fowl podcast. As always, you're joined by me, Jack Anderson, and then to my right, we have JP Pucylowski, good friend of mine, and to my left, another good friend of mine, Sanders Oakley. How are we doing today, boys?
Fantastic. This is the first time we've done a stream 3 days in a row, I believe, that I can think of. The only other time we've done like a special, we did the NFL draft stream, but I don't think we did it day before and day after. So 3 days in a row for us now. Sunday, we did our college review show. Yesterday, we did a watch along of the biggest NFL game of the season for this show, Chargers, Raiders. That was a lot of fun. I had a great time with that. I hope y'all did too. I got a lot of positive feedback. I was talking with Chromie earlier, and he said he had a good fun time in the fourth quarter when he was able to join. So that was awesome. I enjoyed it. It was a lot easier for me to enjoy. My team won. JP, how are we? We'll get into the breakdown of the game earlier or later, not earlier. But I had a blast, and yeah, ready for day 3. I think we should just do this every day. Just live stream every day.
I'm on pass personally. I don't think that's. I think that's how to burn out 101 right there.
Yeah, I agree.
How's your day been,
sure.
JP?
Been fine. I've been sick.
I'm sorry, Coach. That sucks.
But we're doing fine.
Power through.
I didn't have any class today with the career fair.
That's massive.
And then also, it was nice not having to go to the career fair, knowing that I pretty much already have a job lined up. So
yeah. So are we set
around.
up for a JP flu pod?
I wouldn't guarantee that. No.
Fair enough. All right, the meat of the show today, we're just going to recap the 3 games we talked about in the preview show, the 3 NFL games. Among other, key points we want to touch on from the other games, and then we'll do JP's power ranking pyramid to cap off the show. Sorry, the Pucylowski pyramid. I don't mean to misname it.
It can be named that too.
So that's what we got today. Before we get into the breakdown of the full games, the full game breakdowns of the 3 games we previewed, other thoughts from other games around the league, players that stuck out, results that stuck out, injuries y'all want to bring up.
Well, we didn't get to preview it because it was a Thursday night game, but Packers-Commanders, the Packers have now put together 2 complete dominant performances, specifically defensively against 2 top-tier NFC contenders and NFC offenses, too. It's not like these are defensive teams. This is Jared Goff and all those weapons in the Lions, and then Jaden Daniels and his weapons in the Commanders, and they've dominated both of those games at home. And I'd argue offensively they really haven't found their stride yet. Love was good on Thursday, but I mean they missed Matthew Golden on 2 game-changing plays. They don't convert a 4th down because they accidentally substitute, and so then they can't go quickly. Yeah. And they missed a field goal in that game as well, so just missed opportunities offensively, but they've just looked dominant through 2 games, and that's kind of inarguable. Other storylines like Joe Burrow is out for 3 months. I think it kind of ends the Bengals season.
I don't know. I saw someone today say Jake Browning's better than a third of the starting NFL QBs.
He's 6
across
and 6.
The league.
He's 6 and 6 as the starter for the Bengals, so he's fine. But I'd argue, I think they were much better defensively in those years when he did start, especially when he started a ton of the games. When Burrow hurt his wrist on the Thursday night game against the Ravens, they also don't have the running game that they did in those years. They don't have Joe Mixon. Like Chase Brown I think he's bottom 5 in terms of starting running backs in terms of rushing yards. And there are some teams out there that just can't rush the ball at all, the Chargers and the Chiefs namely.
Yeah.
So I think there's concern there. But if he can get them to I think he can get them to 9-8, but I just don't know if 9-8 is going to be good enough for them to make the postseason. I don't expect Joe to return until the postseason right now, if you asked me.
I think that's fair. Turf toe's something that just lingers, and it seems like he got it especially bad. Whatever that means, it doesn't seem great.
Cowboys got a huge win over the Giants in kind of a wild manner because they hit Malik Neighbors on that deep touchdown to go up with like 45 seconds left. Cowboys getting a field goal range. Brandon Aubrey hits it and then hits the game winner in overtime. So
That game was fun. It was chaos. The Giants had so many flags. I enjoyed the Giants' left tackle just smacking some guy on the backside of the head.
Yeah, that was wild.
Crazy.
Lions bounce back after a rough Week 1 loss to the Packers. Kind of an embarrassing Week 1 loss to the Packers where they were just owned for 60 minutes. Bounce back and get a dominant win over a division opponent in the Bears.
Which the Packers have to love seeing that personally, just to see the team that you dominated.
Yeah, it makes
put up 50.
Yeah, it makes you feel better about the questions around the Lions coming into this season that JP raised around coordinators, and then the loss of their interior offensive linemen. What were they going to look like?
Bears also may just suck.
The Bears also may just suck. But if the Bears suck and then the Lions dominated and are better than that, and the Packers dominated and are better than that,
100%.
There's an argument to be made that
yeah.
they might consider themselves the best team in the NFL right now. My hot take, AFC West champions, the Denver Broncos, lost an unfortunate game. A late field goal by the Colts that they missed. There was a penalty for elevation.
Leverage.
Thank you. I was about to say levitation, combining elevation and leverage.
Yeah.
A penalty, a flag thrown for leverage, which is where you push down the long snapper and then someone goes over him.
It
Call
could
that
be
penalty.
Any of the linemen.
Oh, any? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it just more typically the
it's
long
typically
snapper?
right there because that's
where the ball's going to go.
Kicking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's a flag, and that's called back. They get a second chance, and they hit it. So Indiana Jones is now 2-0, and they have yet to punt, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So the Colts are cooking. Week 1, they beat the Dolphins week 1.
Yes.
And the Dolphins, you will find out later. We're not on the Pucylowski pyramid. Last week, I will not discuss where they are this week.
They're not on the pyramid.
They're not on the pyramid. I didn't want to spoil it.
Yeah, I don't
the
think
Dolphins are not on the pyramid.
Spoiler, personally.
So the Colts beat that team, and then to come back and then beat the Broncos at home, I think that's a decent win. I know that y'all are not as high on the Broncos as I was coming into the season.
I was
a good win.
decently high on the Broncos.
Yep.
Not as high as you, obviously. That's back-to-back weeks, though. The Broncos, they didn't look good week 1. They pulled out a win because they were playing the Titans. And then they didn't necessarily look fantastic against the Colts, though I do think the Colts are going to be better than I thought they would be. But I'm kind of intrigued because people loved this Broncos team going into the season, not just you.
Yeah.
Tons of other media personalities raved about them, and they've not really hit the ground running, though there's still tons of time.
I want to shout out JP. I think the thing we have been, you and then us as a podcast, been most right on was the Cam Bynum signing, and how impactful that would be. That might be the thing that, if we ever make an intro of highlights of our takes, that's the one of the highlights of Cam Bynum's going to be a game changer for the celebration game.
I think he's probably had his 2 best celebrations yet too.
Yeah.
It's hard to now remember what they were off the top of my head.
It was he did the one with the football in his shirt
and the bouncy thing.
Oh yeah, the bouncy one on his back. That one was crazy.
I don't know what to call that one, to be honest.
Kind of the worm,
reverse
but
worm.
I don't even know. It was kind of a worm. Yeah, Chromie, the Dolphins are atrocious.
It's pretty funny. I'm enjoying it.
That may be the thing that we've, first to call that out. I don't even know if we were the first to call that out, but that was the first I heard of it was when JP brought that up in our Colts preview. Buccaneers, this is kind of the last of the games that we won't cover in depth because we have 3 games we'll cover in depth. But the Buccaneers beat the Texans. Tucker, I think it was Tucker. We were watching the end of that game because we started the live stream to watch the entire Chargers and Raiders game together. We watched the last probably 4 minutes of that live. I think Tucker made the great point that it was kind of crazy that the Buccaneers offense just was not able to do anything for the majority of that game. And then when it's on the line, 2-minute drill, they go down and they just kind of dime up the Texans defense and go down and score the game-winning touchdown, right? It was a touchdown to win it. So, and then JP made the great point that the Texans are kind of playing prevent there. Don't give up anything big. But then you wind up in the position where
they were in a spot.
Yeah.
They had
fourth and 10.
Yep.
Baker's dead. He goes and converts. But yeah, that, like I said, that is something that just seems to happen at the end of games because defenses far too often play not to lose rather than to win. It was the reason the Jaguars choked against the Bengals this weekend. They were overly aggressive offensively, go for it on 4th and 5 or 4th and goal, essentially. Don't convert, and then they let Jake Browning go 94 yards for a touchdown, largely because they're playing cover 4, but they're also playing cover 4 where all of the deep guys are 25 yards back behind the line of scrimmage, so it was just easy for them to find one-on-ones and pick them apart and get down the field. But I think a ton of credit has to go to Baker. That's now 2 game-winning drives against 2 essentially fringe playoff teams, 2 teams that are trying to win their division, both on the road. Now they get to return home. And he's done it without Chris Godwin. He's done it without his left tackle and Tristan Wirfs. And they were out without their right tackle for much of the game last night too. So they've looked really, really impressive. And the sky is kind of the limit for them. I don't think they're on the same tier as the Packers. They're not on the same tier on the pyramid. I can go ahead and spoil that. But they have a very likely route to the number 1 overall seed in the NFC.
Yeah,
because they play the Panthers and the Saints.
Sure.
Yeah.
4 times. They've already beaten the Falcons, and they'll get the Falcons at home again. So it's just the sky is the limit for the Buccaneers this year, it feels like.
For sure. And I was going to say that even in a league where parity is pretty at level, like even the worst teams have a chance against the best teams on a Sunday. I don't know that that's the same in some leagues. I mean, there is some parity, but the NFL, I believe, has the most parity out of the professional leagues.
Any given Sunday is the phrase they always use.
Yeah. So even in that kind of the league where parity is common, the Buccaneers, I think, could very easily put together a great Sunday and beat any team. The Packers, who they're not in the same tier with in your power ranking, their offense, and it's not even healthy is what's crazy, is with Chris Godwin, who's not back yet, Tristan Wirfs, who's not back yet, and then, like you said, they were missing their other tackle for a lot of last night. They still were able to go
no Jalen McMillan.
Get it done. Wait, was he not playing last night?
No. He's out for the first 8 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that in part, that's due to the fact that the Buccaneers have kind of continued to throw value at like wide receiver, drafting McMillan in the 2nd or 3rd 2 years ago, I believe, and then drafting
was the 2nd.
Emeka Egbuka in the 1st this year in 2025. So it's kind of that continuing to hammer those positions that they consider important, and it's working. I mean, they had a great offense last year. They only scored 20, but also the Texans' defense is fantastic, and I expect to be one of the best in the country, NFL this year. So, yeah, Buccaneers have a very high ceiling, and like you said, because of the division they play in, as opposed to the Packers, who, depending on how you feel, the NFC North may not be as strong as we thought it was coming into this season, with the uncertainty for the Vikings at quarterback, not really knowing what they're going to look like this year. And then the Packers have already shown that they can handle the Lions in one game, so they've already got the tiebreaker there, or half the tiebreaker there, and then we just don't know what the Bears are going to look like. NFC North, kind of a question mark right now, I would say. What that'll look like as the season develops, but I do agree that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have got a great path to fight for the 1 seed.
I mean, their schedule's really front-loaded, too, in terms of toughness, so they still got a ways to go. You know, they play a team like the Bills, 49ers, Seahawks in the first part of their schedule.
Eagles in 2 weeks.
So they have a ways to go before they get through the tough part of their schedule, but starting 2-0 is great, and then you get to the back half, and it's like Saints, Panthers twice, Dolphins. They could really go on a run to end the season. So it's fantastic that they're already 2-0 with the injuries, especially.
Want to dive into the 3 games?
Any other tidbits from the week?
I mean, I was trying to think more big news. I mean, J.J. McCarthy is not playing next weekend.
We'll do that. We'll talk about Vikings, Falcons. So I was going to save that.
Yeah, I mean, that is news. I personally hate that Tom Brady is suddenly in the coaching box at the Raiders.
Yeah.
And game planning with Raiders OC Chip Kelly.
That was a little odd.
When he's also broadcasting, gathering information.
Yeah. Okay,
from other teams.
Maybe you know this, JP. I was under the impression there was a rule that Brady was like not allowed to attend certain meetings and other stuff, and now we're kind of finding out that, or I thought that they talked about in the broadcast last night that he did do interviews with he did an interview with the Commanders.
He is not allowed to attend practice. He's not allowed to be within the other NFL team's facility. Outside of the stadium, of course.
Yeah.
but he is allowed to participate in the interviews they do during the week with coaches, with players. He's allowed to still participate in staff meetings where they discuss what they saw at practice, but he's not allowed to be at practice or in another team's facility, so he can't know firsthand what's going on in the facility. But I don't have a problem with it. I think for me, it's as long as it's legal, then by the letter of the law, it's legal. That's all that really matters,
I guess.
You can't. The guy has a passion for the game and he wants to call the game, but at the same time, he still wants to be involved in a franchise, and he's doing that. But I don't have as much problem with it as everyone else does. I think the outrage is kind of just unnecessary. Like, it's not clearly he didn't give him a big advantage last night.
Yeah.
Well, he's not been around the Raiders yet,
and he also
the
is not
Chargers.
going to be in the building for much of the Raiders games this year. This was just where it happened to be a spot where the Raiders were playing on Monday night, and he was calling a game on Sunday night. Like, the Raiders, I think, have 2 more primetime games the rest of the year. One of those I know is a Sunday night football game.
He won't be able to be there, yeah.
They play on Thursday night, and they'll play on Monday night. And those are the only 2 other primetime games. And then they may play Sunday night to end the year. Those are the only 2 other spots where he's going to be in the building, and he'll be there wearing a coaching headset. Unless he's calling a Raiders game, but he'll be in the booth calling the game.
Him calling.
So
I wonder if can he call a Raiders game? Is that allowed?
I would assume he could.
Okay.
They're on Fox. They'll play the Titans on Fox, but they wouldn't call that game. Next week they're at the Commanders, but he's calling a different game next week. I know that for sure. And then they're on Fox at the Eagles later in the year, which I guess he could potentially call that game. I doubt it, but I think he could. I don't.
Okay. There's no
I don't know.
rule against it.
I feel like that would have been brought up already, just as like a look ahead. Like Scheffner or someone would have tweeted that, like, "Oh, Brady can't call this game," kind of deal.
Yeah.
If that was a possibility, if that's something they would even consider. But I don't have as much problem with it, honestly, because, like I said, this would be one of 3 games this year he could be there wearing a coaching headset.
He also helps with the game plan throughout the week, though, and that'll be week in and week out. So
Sean McVay injury, another. I mean, that's not huge because he's not playing, but he hurt himself calling a timeout. What you know what he did? I can't.
He
remember.
tore his plantar fascia.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Which is, from what I've heard, very, very painful.
Very.
So
Where
I feel
is
bad
that?
for him.
It's
Okay.
the arch of your foot.
Yeah, the
Okay.
underside of your foot.
Wait, so he tore it or broke it?
Tore it.
It's like the
Like the muscle.
tendon or
It's
muscle.
the tendon.
Yeah, that
Okay.
runs along there.
Cool. That's
Um,
unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. He may have to get someone else to be ready to sprint for timeouts. You can move. It's just so painful.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a pain management injury at the end of the day. It's a fairly common baseball injury.
Yeah.
And it does not go well for baseball players to try and play through it.
The Goran Dragic injury. He suffered it in the bubble, which is big. He didn't get to play in the NBA Finals, and he was cooking during the bubble. So,
Definitely would have beat the Lakers if they had a.
About to say.
and
that's
Bam
Goran
Adebayo was hurt
Dragic.
too.
That's what makes
yeah.
it a Mickey Mouse ring.
Sure.
LeBron got the Mickey Mouse ring.
Mickey. Yeah, Tom Brady equals Connor Stallion.
Yeah, Kermit makes a great point. How did
Same college affiliation as well. Like,
yeah, true.
For all I know, they're working together. That'd be crazy. What do we know? What is Connor Stallion's doing now? Anything?
High school, I believe.
Tweeting a bunch.
Yeah, okay, I have seen that. Yeah, I should say it's a common baseball injury. It's just a common sport injury, to be honest. Like, I just have a lot of experience with baseball. So, anything else?
No, I think we're ready to dive into the actual games, the 3 big ones. So we want to start afternoon, Sunday night, Monday night.
Yeah. We'll go in chronological order here. Meaning the first one is the Super Bowl rematch that took place in Arrowhead. Chiefs pull it out. Oh my gosh, Eagles pull it out. What a great start.
Just trying to rewrite history.
We're just gonna restart that real quick.
That's fine.
Super Bowl rematch. Eagles go to Arrowhead and they pull it out 20-17. It's a slow offensive day for both teams. Neither team is really moving the ball well. Mahomes ends up throwing a crucial pick on the goal line. That's not his fault. It goes off Travis Kelce's hands and Makuba picks it off. that was the best drive to put together all day. So to get no points off it really hurts. But yeah, thoughts on this game? I personally, I'm kind of over watching these teams currently. Like, it's just not anywhere near. Neither of these teams are anywhere near the top of the league in terms of it, like watchability or fun to watch, in my opinion. So,
I mean, I think the Eagles they're fun to watch, except when they have 1 yard to go, in my opinion. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts, when he's not getting tush-push, it can be a fun quarterback to watch. He's powerful. He can throw it. They've got great wide receivers, even if they're not throwing to them right now for some reason.
That's what I'm saying. They're just like, it's just dink and dunk.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess I feel like they should be fun to watch.
The defenses are fun.
The defenses are very good. The Eagles' defense was fantastic. Holding Mahomes to 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It was really Mahomes' legs that kind of cooked. Averaged almost 10 yards per carry, had a rushing touchdown, 7 carries, 66 yards. And then beyond that, the run game for the Chiefs was kind of non-existent. They had guys, Kareem Hunt, 31 yards, Isaiah Pacheco, 10 rushes, 22 yards. So really not much of a run game outside of Patrick Mahomes and his legs. And I think you made the point, JP, after we previewed and reviewed their Week 1 game against the Chargers about how Mahomes looks kind of slimmer and faster than he has in the past couple of years. And I kind of think you saw that again Sunday afternoon, where he was kind of evading the pocket and getting out and scrambling in ways that he probably didn't really do as much in like 2022, 2023, 24. So definitely on the move there.
I do think the frequency of it, though, is almost an indictment as to how poor their offense is.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not just like once or twice a game where he does it. It's like every drive he's having to scramble to try and extend drives because the run game isn't cooking. I've not been impressed with Pacheco or Kareem Hunt or even the run blocking as a whole. Now, they've played 2 good defenses, but regardless, I've not seen anything to be impressed with there. And then the lack of explosive passing game as well, that combined, like he just is constantly having to do it too much. It's not what they want, in my opinion.
Yeah, Mahomes leads the team in rushing yards by 76. That's the separation between him and Isaiah Pacheco. This is that skill that he has is a skill that he's only really pulled out in the postseason when he's had to and when he's had to make big plays, and he's made big plays in the postseason. But for him to have to use it this early on, as Jack is saying, is an indictment. I completely agree. This is just a showing of how poor the run game is, and it's unfortunate that now Mahomes is going to put himself in more danger. I think you're in spots where Mahomes is going to take more contact, and it's clear when you watch him play that this is a guy who still, even with how good Josh Simmons is playing, honestly, through 2 weeks against pretty good pass rushes, or at least pretty good defenses, he still doesn't trust his offensive line.
Yeah.
And obviously with no rushing attack, it doesn't make it any easier when he drops back to pass, and you're in 2nd and 8 and 3rd and 7, stuff like that. The rushing, it's not something you want to see if you're the Chiefs through the 2 games. They're now 0-2. This is the first time since 2014 Kansas City is 0-2 where they missed the playoffs. That was pre-Mahomes. Since the merger, the Super Bowl merger, teams that made the playoffs and then started next year 0-2 make the playoffs 5 out of 12 times. The Super Bowl loser to then go 0-2 the following year has only happened twice in the Super Bowl era. The 2022 Bengals and the 2015 Seahawks, the post not handing it off to Marshawn Lynch, and the post Bengals that lost to the Rams. Both of those teams made the playoffs. Cincinnati, of course, lost in the AFC Championship game where they had that late hit on Mahomes, and Mahomes and the Chiefs advanced to the Super Bowl and win it. And then Seattle lost in the divisional round, but went 10-7. So the path is kind of bleak. The 2 examples where Super Bowl losers went 0-2. They make the playoffs, so it's not over for the Chiefs. But they're behind the 8 ball, and it doesn't get any easier. They've got essentially a must-win primetime game against the Giants, who were pretty prolific offensively, albeit against a Dallas secondary that's atrocious, and looks atrocious on film.
Yeah.
But they have a must-win primetime game, and there's no guarantee that goes their way, considering the Giants' pass rush. And then they host Baltimore, and with the way Baltimore is scoring points and the way the Chiefs have looked offensively, you can't hold nothing but concern that they're in a spot where like they're potentially 1-3 through the first 4 games, and then it doesn't get easier after that. They have to go to Jacksonville on Monday Night Football. They host the Lions on Sunday Night Football. They host the Raiders, which you would think is a win, but then they host the Commanders on Monday Night Football, and they go at Bills, at Broncos, and the Colts could still be undefeated after that. So like it just doesn't. There's not an easy break at any point. And with Xavier Worthy and his injury, he's expected to play next week. I would say Rashee Rice, like once he returns, there's no guarantee that means the offense is going to explode immediately.
Maybe too late, even. I mean,
6 weeks, yeah, they could be 1-5. They could be 2-4 at that point. Now they've gone 3-4 before, and made the postseason, made the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah,
but they're no doubt like they're not in a good spot, and it can't hold anything but concern for the Chiefs going forward. I think for one, they got no pass rush right now, and of course even less of a rushing attack like we've talked about. And then the vibes just feel off. Travis Kelce's frustrated throughout that game. It felt like for no reason. They score a touchdown. Mahomes scores a touchdown, and then you can see a cut to Kelce where he is screaming at one of the coaches saying, "I'm sick of this shit." Like, I don't know what that's about. Then the Kelce drop, like it's uncharacteristic, but then to give up on the play when Eagles very easily could have had a pick six if Josh Simmons doesn't track him down.
That was crazy.
He just kind of he puts his hands up. He's like it was looking for a flag, or it was just like he was like, "Oh, how does this happen to me? Like, you didn't drop the ball." So that just feels off again, and there's not like really necessarily even a reason for it right now because he's kind of still producing. Mahomes is missing a ton. He had a 54% completion percentage on Sunday, and then he's like just missing uncharacteristically. He misses Tyquan Thornton wide open with 3:40 left in the fourth quarter. He returns back and hits him, but like to miss a guy that much down the field, that's not something we've seen from Mahomes.
For sure.
And then Chris Jones at the end of the game, the clip that goes viral where he's complaining to Jalen Hurts saying like, "Oh, bro, you barely even have 100 yards." I have a problem with that, not because he's right. Jalen Hurts barely has 100 yards, which we can get into that in a second, but this is a 3-time Super Bowl champion. The heart of a champion doesn't care about stats. The heart of a champion just cares about winning. Mahomes he's had great seasons, but he's almost never had the best quarterback season that year. It's been Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Herbert even. All they've done is win. And when they are in the big moment, in the big games, they go out there and win. And that is something that is like being said about the Eagles right now, where the Eagles don't care about their numbers. They just go out there and win. They don't care how they do it. They just go out there and win. And for Chris Jones to be complaining about that at the end of the game, it's just a concern for the vibes for Kansas City going forward. Thoughts on that?
I agree. I think it simply comes down to if you're not winning, the vibes kind of go down. I don't know if there's like any, massive reason behind the scenes or anything, to go to that. But yeah, when you're not winning, things aren't going your way. It's hard for people to not get frustrated. And these are people that's what they're used to, is winning. So especially when you get to know winning, and it's kind of, almost become easy for you and the standard for you to suddenly lose that. I could get why that's pretty frustrating. I want to go back to talking about the Chiefs' lack of pass rush. Definitely a concern. I think they made up for it or tried to help the pass rush with the amount of blitzes they threw at the Eagles, and I thought they called a pretty good game plan there. Now they still lost, but I liked what I saw from Spags in that sense.
Yeah. And then on the offensive line, Jawan Taylor has another, you can start to call it awful game. He had 2 more penalties called and then 1 that was declined, and realistically, having a penalty on an offensive lineman that's declined isn't good because it means that it was probably 3rd down and incomplete, and they just were like, we'll just take the 4th down. So 2 penalties declined, 2 penalties called, a 3rd one declined, finished with a offensive grade of 56.2, which was an improvement from last week. So I think that's kind of one of the big concerns is like you said, that offensive line. Josh Simmons is playing very well for a rookie. Rookie offensive linemen typically do not come in and play well off the bat. That is the standard. Offensive lineman is like year 3 or year 4 is where you're going to start to see them play at their best. And so to come in and be able to kind of hold your own as a rookie, really good from Josh Simmons. But other parts of that offensive line, specifically Jawan Taylor, are struggling a lot. And I think that that's, like you said earlier, is hurting Mahomes greatly.
Yeah, a stat on the pass rush. Jalen Hurts on Sunday was blitzed on 16 of his 25 dropbacks. That's the highest rate the Chiefs have ever had since Steve Spagnuolo became the defensive coordinator in 2019. Meaning 16 out of 25 times they're blitzing when Jalen Hurts is throwing. I mean, they're even blitzing on run plays as well. That just like it again shows statistically how poor the pass rush is, blitzing that much that they don't trust rushing just 4. That's a problem because that puts your corners on islands. And while Hurts didn't throw for a ton, I think that's what we saw in the Chargers game is that receivers were getting open because they're just in one-on-one coverage.
Yeah.
Do you have how much? So I want to ask, do you have how much Mahomes was blitzed? Because in the Super Bowl,
Yes.
the Eagles never blitzed, right? They blitzed 0 times.
Yes, Mahomes was blitzed 11 times in
Okay.
week 2 against the Eagles. So part of it, like Brady talked about on the broadcast, it felt like maybe it was just to try and change in game plan that the Chiefs had prepped for it all week of like, oh, they're just not going to blitz us again this time. We're going to be fine in pass protection, and then the Eagles should get really aggressive. But I also think like they kind of have to. They don't have they don't have Josh Sweat, Milton Williams. They don't have that kind of pass rush threat for the most part, so they kind of have to.
Yeah.
But I also kind of agree with Brady. It may have been a game plan thing as well.
I think there's also the element of, well, I agree with they have to, but also I don't know if there's a ton of respect for either team's explosive downfield passing game at this point. Like the Chiefs are like, what is blitz, blitz, blitz? And Jalen Hurts has kind of been hit or miss in terms of delivering under pressure in his career. And so we're going to blitz and trust our guys in one-on-one coverage. I mean, even the deep ball that Devontae Smith caught, good completion. It wasn't really the best ball. Devontae Smith came back and got it and won it, and shout out to him.
Yeah.
And then similar at this point with the Chiefs' offense of like, we'll just blitz and you're going to throw the ball to Tyquan Thornton a couple times, and he got open a couple times, and Mahomes missed them once or twice, and then he ended up completing it. But I think that's also an element of it too, is they're just not these offenses aren't feared in that regard currently, where you're scared about blitzing and getting burned over the top.
Yeah, the Eagles long pass to Devontae Smith of 28, and then other than that, every other pass was less than 10 yards down the field. One last thing on the Chiefs, and then I have some questions about the Eagles. Going for it on the first drive of the second half, 4th and 1, on your own 36, they fumble it, and they don't convert. When that happened, in my mind, something switched in the fact that the Chiefs are scared of the Philadelphia Eagles. They were scared. Their defense was playing really well that day against the Eagles, and yet they were scared that if they had to punt the ball and just kind of lost momentum immediately, that the game would be over. And that is something that has never happened for Kansas City. They will be aggressive at times, but for the most part, their aggressiveness is post the 50-yard line. It's on the opponent's side of the field. That's something we've like never seen from Kansas City, is that aggressive that early still in the game of the first drive of the second half. For me, it was a huge shock, and it really kind of shows that like I think the Eagles have a huge psychological edge over the Chiefs. And man, are the Chiefs in a bad spot if that's what you have to do. That's what you feel like you have to do, because you don't feel like you can score enough points offensively, that you need something on this drive, even when your defense is playing as well as they are and the crowd is rocking as well as it was on Sunday. That was insane to me, and that's something we've never seen from the Chiefs. And so maybe this is just becoming a huge downfall. I wouldn't doubt them; they can come back from this. But that was something we have never seen. They've lost games before. They've lost in crazy ways before. Now they still aren't like being blown out in these 2 losses, but that was something that like really kind of changed how I feel about this team going forward. Is that if they're that aggressive, like even if they picked it up, it still would have shocked me because it's on your own 36-yard line.
Yeah, that early.
The first drive of the
half.
second half, it's insane to see. Mahomes has now lost 3 in a row for the first time ever, so doesn't even get halfway to Brady's record. So another tick to the Brady GOAT conversation. For the Eagles, though, offensively, I have a question. Is this just like a lower ceiling team? Saquon on 40 attempts through 2 games, just 5 carries of 10 yards or more. I will say that's top 10 in the league for running backs, but it's Saquon. He's only reached...
Well, you said 2 games.
Through 2 games, 40 attempts, just 5 carries of 10 yards or more against the Chiefs and the Cowboys. He's only reached like his like top-ish speed of 15 miles an hour faster 6 times on those 40 carries. And then Hurts has just 253 passing yards, which is 12 more than Jake Browning, who has played just 2.5 quarters.
Yeah.
So offensively, are they at their ceiling? Are they a team that can only like kind of grind out games and just if they can control the ball, they're fine? I think that's a question going forward for Philly. Can they reach any kind of higher ceiling than what we've seen through these 2 games?
I think they can, but I don't think it's a reliable high ceiling, if that makes sense. Like we could see a game kind of like in the Super Bowl where the downfield passing game's just there and they light it up. But I don't think that's something they can trust to be like, okay, this game we're going to open it up and it's going to work, if that makes sense.
What do you think changed from last year to this year? They didn't lose any wide receivers. They didn't lose weapons. I don't think they lost any O-linemen. If not, it was like, I don't think they lost any off the top of my head. They bring back Hurts. I think they bring back everybody. So, like, what changed?
It's a great question because I couldn't really tell you, and it could just open back up. But it's not like they week in and week out were just torching teams last year either. The run game was definitely better last year, and Saquon was just phenomenal. But just in terms of passing game, and even I'm trying to remember exactly what A.J. Brown got asked in the post game about the offense and the passing game specifically, and he was like, "Oh, well, we're winning games right now, but yeah, the passing game is something we probably should figure out," or something like that.
They lost Kellen Moore. That's one thing.
Yeah,
Sure.
but even with Kellen Moore, that they were a huge running team. They loved to play ball control football. That was how they won games. They've won 17 of their last 18. And I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't think they've scored more than 40 points except 2 or 3 times, one of them being the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're passing this season just 40% of the time, which is insane considering the weapons that they have, too, with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the offensive line that you have, Dallas Goedert, even Saquon in the passing game. Like that,
Sure.
It's just crazy to me. It makes me feel like this is my concern of it is that like maybe this is just a team that is just a one-trick pony, that is just they can only control the clock, control the time of possession, run the ball effectively. If we're if it's 3rd and 3, we're picking up a first down guaranteed with the tush push.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, how are they going to win a shootout? What if like Saquon gets hurt, or that's a problem going forward? So I think
they got
it's just concern there.
Yeah, I think it's almost. I wonder if it's they know that they can do it. Like they've been very successful at this grind offense, and they've almost leaned into embracing it too much, and with the tush push, almost like embracing the heel so much that I wonder if they're going to end up regret almost like burying themselves down this track. That all of a sudden, if they do get in a shootout, it's just no guarantee that they're going to be able to flip the switch and unlock the downfield passing game because you've not been doing it all season, and there's no chemistry in games and stuff like that. So it's interesting to me because I agree the weapons should be there.
Yeah, I think we'll have a big answer to that question in 2 weeks. They go to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has a very good interior defensive line with Vita Vea, which doesn't completely counter the rushing attack, but it's one of the best counters for that rushing attack you're going to find in the NFL.
It helped a ton last night.
Yeah, so you're going to see, I think that'll be really interesting. And then Tampa Bay is going to score points. That wide receiver room with Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin is working really well. Baker Mayfield right now. Egbuka has 3 touchdowns through 2 games as a rookie. Mike Evans is still playing well, even in his age 32 season, 31. He's in his early 30s. And then Baker is just slinging it. And I don't know that he has an interception yet, or if he does.
He doesn't.
Yeah, which has been an issue for him at times. So I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup on the road at Tampa Bay. Do we see them try and, like, maybe they're saving something? Maybe they just don't think they have to right now.
It's possible.
Which is definitely possible because, like y'all said, I didn't get to watch the Cowboys game, but we talked about it after, and you talked about the way the Cowboys were just giving them curls and slants and short passes. Like, the Eagles were like, all right, we'll just do that. And so that's why we didn't see anything explosive. And then against the Chiefs, they didn't need it, right, because they were able to kind of stop the Chiefs' offense. They held them to 17, which is low for what we expected from this Chiefs offense. And the injuries and the suspensions have been a part of that. But they didn't really need it, and they proved that. I mean, they won. But I think that they're going to need it against the Buccaneers, and that'll be a really good test of when they need that kind of explosive offense. Do they have it?
Yeah,
Sure.
Hurts only attempted 4 passes of 10 yards or more down the field. And to speak on the slant routes, A.J. Brown was targeted on 5 slant routes. So that all 4 of his catches were on slant routes on Sunday. So it is. I just think it's a concern going forward that this is kind of a one-trick pony. Now it works because, like I said, if they get to 3rd and 2, they're picking up a first down every single time.
Yeah.
Unless we see a huge change this next week where, because of the outrage in the media and the examples of the false starts and the offsides with the tush push against the Chiefs on Sunday, and we just see a complete change in the way they referee it as officials, then it's still going to be dominant. They're still going to be running much of the year, and they're going to be pretty effective on it regardless.
100%.
But I also think, I think they are going to officiate it differently.
I agree. Did you see there's a game, like maybe the game last night, where someone was trying to run something similar
The
to the tush
Chargers
push?
ran the tush push
and
to get off the 1 yard line.
And the refs came out and, like, this was a tweet, someone, and so it could have been taken out of context, but it looked like the refs came out and, like, it was like, hey, you have to back up, or like they adjusted something.
The refs were doing this?
I can't remember. All
Okay.
I saw was a tweet that was like, look at how the refs are, enforcing the new, making sure to enforce the offsides.
I don't know if they did that.
Okay.
What I saw when that play happened, the refs they're doing this, and what this means is they're saying a number with that, and they're declaring an offensive tackle, essentially, an extra offensive tackle as an eligible receiver, because the Chargers brought in, I think, an extra offensive tackle, if not 2, which they did that a couple times last night. And I think that may have been what happened. I'd be interested to see what the tweet said, if that was part of the context.
Yeah.
For it.
I'd have to go look it up on it.
But I think if they don't, then it's just going to continue to cause outrage. And I think eventually they're going to referee it differently.
100%.
Will they still be effective on it? Yes, but they won't be able to cheat, at least, and still be effective. And I think that could hinder them going forward if, they get in a spot where now 3rd and 2 isn't a guarantee to pick up a first down.
And there's also the thing, too, of the if they do start refereeing it, if you false start, that's 5 yards back. You can't run the tush push, right? So even if
and 3rd and 7 is tough.
Yeah, correct.
3rd and 6, 4th
it's
and
just
6,
entirely different. But it's a huge win for them.
Yeah,
they're 2-0 now. Anything else on this game before we move on?
It was that clip. I just found it.
Yeah, they were
declaring someone eligible.
Declaring someone as eligible. Actually, I'll ask that question when we talk about the Chargers game.
Okay, cool. Next game, the Sunday Night Football game. We got a rematch of the 2023 College National Championship in terms of quarterback matchup. J.J. McCarthy versus Michael Penix. But they weren't really the story of this game at all. Falcons ended up winning 22-6. It was kind of a defensive battle. Falcons drove pretty well. Bijan Robinson was awesome, in my opinion, was just unreal. But they couldn't finish drives. They kicked 5 straight field goals before finally finding the end zone to end the game. And the Vikings pretty much let Tyler Algier into the end zone so they could get ball back. And the Vikings offense struggles all night. They can't protect J.J. McCarthy. He doesn't handle the pressure well. They finished with just the 6 points. So I really think the defenses were the story in this one. But y'all's thoughts on this game?
Yeah, the J.J. McCarthy thing, it was, I mean, he completed under 50% of his passes. Sorry, 11 for 21, so just over 50% of his passes. I did the math wrong. 158 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But I do think you're right. I do think that the Falcons and the way they drove, and then the Vikings constantly stopping them in the red zone or in field goal range, it was huge and very impressive, because I do like this Falcons offense without Drake London, I believe. So that takes...
He played.
No, he did play.
But he wasn't good.
Yeah.
A couple drops and he fumbled at the kind of... Penix throws a great ball, puts it exactly where it needs to be, and he just does not... Ball security was not there at all as he was running down the field.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure if he got targeted after that. Not in terms of like them, being like, we're not going to give you the ball because you did that type beat, but it just didn't happen, and Bijan was cooking.
Yeah, and then Justin Jefferson, 3 receptions, 81 yards, 0 passing touchdowns for that offense.
Sacked 6 times.
Yeah.
Pressured 16.
In
They still don't have their starting left tackle.
Darisal's still out, and I think the center left the game at some point as well. No one graded out well on that line. So in defense of J.J. McCarthy, he's not given a ton to work with back there. And also, just I'll get there in a minute. Let's just stay with J.J. McCarthy now. I was thinking about it this morning because we talked about some on the live stream last night in terms of him being hurt and what to expect. And it makes perfect sense that he's starting slow, like very slow. Just thinking about what the Michigan offense asked of him, and then he didn't play it all last year. Like, there's just got to be so much more on his plate that, like, yeah, it just makes perfect sense to me that he just didn't step up and immediately start dealing, especially considering the issues with the offensive line. Like, this kind of seems like, oh, duh. Like, why did I not expect it? Maybe not to be quite this bad, but, was there any reason to expect him to come in and start dealing off rip?
I mean, I think that the wide, like having Justin Jefferson, I think was why everyone expected that.
Sure.
Because you have the best wide receiver in the NFL. He's going to get open, and so your job is just to get him the ball and to find out, like, find him
time to get him the ball.
That is the problem we're seeing right now. I don't know that people were expecting that. Christian Darrisaw being one of the best tackles, and like he's a fantastic NFL tackle. So losing him does hurt a lot. And then on the Falcons, like you said, Bijan, 22 carries, 143 yards, over 6.5 yards per carry is crazy. He started off, Tyler Algier, I believe, was outpacing him, and then Bijan kind of was able to finish out the game, and it was the classic, like, well, is Algier the better running back? Because Algier played well at the beginning of the game, but Bijan finishes well.
So frustrated. Algier got the touchdown at the end of the game as a Bijan fantasy owner.
Yeah, that was very sad.
That continues to be a thing for
I
him
know,
and Bijan.
always is. It's how it is. Bijan will work him down the field. Algier comes in, gets the tutty.
I was a little sad it wasn't a close game, so we didn't get to see a Michael Penix, wild, dive or reach or extension to get a first down. I hope to see a lot more close games and get to see him in clutch time, because at college and now in the NFL, he's proven himself to be very clutch as a quarterback. So hope to get to see more good games. And I think that with playing the Bucs twice should be 2 good games. Sure. Or I guess did they play them week 1?
Yes.
Yes. So playing them again will hopefully be a good game.
Your thoughts on JJ, JP?
On JJ,
or you can take it somewhere else if you want. But
I think JJ just needs time. We talked about this last night. Like there's no rush to find some other option. I think were we talking about like making Wentz the starter or something?
I just think there's a lot of pressure around the fact that this team is set up to contend with the rest of the pieces, and so you're going to have to put a quarterback out there that can play. So if JJ continues to not get the job done week in and week out, if it's hey, we bench him, not long term, but just like see if we can pick up wins with somebody else this season, because just ownership and even like fans and stuff, if Sam Darnold continues to play well at Seattle and you let him walk and JJ can't get the job done, like that's just a tough thing to handle as a coach.
Yeah, Darnold was good on Sunday against that Steelers defense. Unironically.
Yeah. It's just the Steelers defense is looking like it may not be a typical Steelers defense, but it was still a good concerning game from Darnold.
I think we're just need to pump the brakes. It's his first, like I said last night, it's his first 2 starts in the NFL. He's just hasn't had a lot of reps. He didn't play for an entire year. And so I think we just need to give it a little bit more time. I trust Kevin O'Connell.
I do too.
Given the quarterbacks that he's had and the success he's had with those quarterbacks. So I think you just have to give it time. And I also think like they made the decision to keep JJ, to start JJ. They could have offered more money to Sam Darnold and kept him in Minnesota, but they decided not to. And so I think because of that, they have to live with their decision and be right by their decision. Like, continue to give this guy chances to go out there and start games. Because, like I said, that's 2 games starting. He's 1-1. Both games were in prime time, national television. Like, yeah, this is a kid that won a national championship, and he played in big-time games at Michigan all the time. But still, there's big, bright moments to start your NFL career. I just think we need to pump the brakes, give him more time. It's not like he has shown 0 flashes. And then also, like, they aren't protecting him whatsoever. He doesn't have the time. He was sacked 6 times, pressured 16, and it wasn't much different against the Bears either. So no quarterback operates well under a poor offensive line performance.
Sure.
And so even Mahomes, I think we just need to pump the brakes on that. For me, the Falcons were extremely impressive and now have been impressive through 2 games. They used 12 personnel, which means one running back, 2 tight ends, on 55 of their 63 plays. And because of that, they just ran the ball down Minnesota's throat. Over 200 rushing yards. Bijan was terrific all day, and then even Algier was, when he was spelling, was amazing as well. They ran the pistol formation on 50% of those plays, and that's I love the pistol, so it's fun to see that. This rushing attack is great, and I think it's going to help them a ton because we know Penix can throw the ball well, and we know he can throw for a ton of yards, and the receiver room is not healthy. Drake London was hurt much of this week. Darnell Mooney still hasn't returned. So once that happens, maybe this is a really, really good offense that can, play both ways, run the ball down your throat when they need to, but then also air it out. And so I think it's a huge positive to see that for the Falcons going forward.
100% agree.
Because that has been the worst part of the team since Matt Ryan is quarterback play with Kirk Cousins last year and with Desmond Ridder. It's been terrible.
Did Marcus Mariota suit up for them too?
He might have started a game.
He could have spelled someone here and there. And even like Matt Ryan, his last year or two was not the same QB he once was.
And to see this kind of offense from the Falcons being able to play both ways, I think has got to give them a ton of confidence as a team, for the fans as well. Now, Falcons are going to Falcon, so they're going to mess something up at some point.
Sure.
But even in an ugly, unwatchable game, to get it done and win a game in prime time on the road, I think it was nothing but positive takeaways for the Falcons going forward.
For their offense, I completely agree. Now they do need to finish drives.
Yes.
You cannot go 0 for 5 to start the game in terms of scoring touchdowns and, kick 5 straight field goals. You will lose some games doing that. But also I was very impressed with their defense. I think their defensive personnel is in a better spot than it has been in the past couple years. Very early, 2 weeks into these guys' career. But Billy Bowman, Xavier Watts, James Pierce, Jalen Walker.
AJ Terrell.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying they're rookies, though.
Oh, sorry. I thought you just said personnel.
Yeah.
My bad.
Well, yeah, I pivoted. But just those 4 rookies have had great starts to their seasons, looked great last night. Adrian Terrell's a good player, though I think he's banged up right now.
Yeah.
Devon Diablo looks like he was a good pickup at linebacker. I just think they have more wrinkles. I heard they blitzed 14 different guys last night. I just think they're deeper on defense than they have been, and that's going to let them do more things like, get creative with blitzes, but even also just play straight up pass rush has been terrible for them recently, and I know the Vikings O-line was beat up, but to get 6 sacks and 16 pressures,
They hit
that's
J.J.
got to be a
McCarthy
positive.
11 times.
Yeah.
They also had 5 TFLs in the running game on top of that, so they were dominant.
Correct. So many positive takeaway on both sides of the ball for them. I was very impressed, as unimpressed as I was by the Vikings at the same time. So just huge for them as a whole moving forward. It really almost makes that Week 1 loss sting a little bit more because it's like, man, we really kind of feel like we should be 2-0.
Yeah.
And in a good spot to try and win this division. But Baker Mayfield does Baker Mayfield things, and then Koo, who lost his job Sunday night.
Romo goes 5 for 5.
Yeah.
I don't know if that first field goal went in, but I think
it counted. It says 5 for 5 in the stats. So
I think that one was kind of funny, but to go 5 for 5, it's his job now.
100%. Sorry, Koo. I did like you, but
I did too.
That's the problem
Gata
with
legend.
an NFL kicker is it can all end so fast.
Yep.
Thoughts on this game, Sanders? Anything stick out to you? I know you talked about JJ, but like anything from the Falcons side that you really liked defensively? Okay. Anything else, Chippy?
Yes. Do the Falcons make the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we pull up their schedule real quick and just
We can, yeah.
do a quick
I mean, I have them winning this division.
check in?
The Week 1 loss, I maybe would have to rethink that.
Then I guess
because
let me ask y'all, since y'all think they make the playoffs, do you?
I don't think though. I think losing Week 1, I think the
At
Bucks will
home
end up winning the
hurts.
division.
Yeah, I think the Bucks with that. I mean, because you kind of expect the Bucks to win at home, because of how much that matters. So
I can't wait to see that Monday Night Football game.
yeah, I think Bucks will win that game. So I think Bucks would win it, but you still play the Panthers twice. You go to the 49ers. Do we know the Brock Purdy timeline?
He would potentially return for that game. I would think he plays in that game.
You get the Dolphins at home. That's a win.
I wish the Dolphins were on the road. Still a win.
Yeah, true. Saints twice. I think you can probably call those wins.
They won't
Only
sweep
one
the
of 'em.
Saints. Yeah, the Saints win 1.
All right.
We've gone over that.
My bad.
I'll pull up the number if you need me to.
Yeah, so I think that they can get to 9 wins. That'll
Yeah.
be enough to get them as a wild card, but I don't
You may
think they'll
need
win
10.
the division. They might need 10.
I think they could get to 10 regardless. I just really like what I've seen from them. The biggest thing is they just can't falcon away too many games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
that's
currently
always
going
going to be the
in
biggest
terms
thing.
of falconing.
That is 100% a concern for them. I'm trying to find it.
No, you're good.
The Falcons have not swept the Saints in a season since 2016. That year they made the Super Bowl. So either
Is that 10 years?
yes,
So I'm hearing is the Falcons
this would be a
manage
decade.
if the
Are we concerned about other 10-year streaks also ending this year?
They don't correlate.
They don't? Okay,
They're
okay.
independent streaks. So
That's fair.
what I am hearing is if the Falcons sweep the Saints, we can look at a Super Bowl
Yeah.
appearance for the Falcons, which would be I would enjoy it.
I would enjoy it because I don't think they'd win it. Whoever they played in the AFC, and that would.
Could you imagine Falcons
That'd just be
Bills?
awesome.
Falcons, Bills.
It would be
Feels-
cinema. Penix.
feels like a bit of a mismatch.
I mean, I want Penix to do well. I love Penix.
Yeah.
He's a stud. Any final thoughts on this game? Can we move on
Nope.
to the Monday Night Football game?
No, real quick. Did you see? I saw you said earlier this is like the Diego Pavia breaking news about him applying for another year. Did you see his tweet?
Yeah, he says not true.
He said it's not true. So that makes me feel a little bit better. Did you see that, JP?
Yeah, I saw it, but I assumed it was fake. So
But like, why did you assume if it was fake if it was from On3?
On3, Loki has lost some credibility in the past couple weeks.
he's not getting a
reporting
seventh
wise.
year.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I assumed it's true because I did see On3.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't say he was
wasn't-
going to get a 7th year.
It
It just said
wasn't
they were
no
going to
3
try.
sports.
No 3 sports.
Yeah, it is. I don't know where they got that. That's really like frustrating because you take something from a news source, you take it at its face value. Not like an actual news source. Like On3 is a true sports reporting. Like the Brett McMurphy tweet. Did you see that?
No.
Where he said Notre Dame will agree to join the SEC or Big Ten if either can convince the college football playoff committee to expand to 16 teams.
Oh, I didn't see that.
But it's like Brett McMurphy is an On3 reporter, and so I don't know.
He's a memer though.
Yeah, but like when you're an actual reporter, it's hard to be like, yeah, but I'm just joking.
Well, he's like a hater kind of thing. He has a lot of hate tweets. Like, kind of have no reason for it. Like, if he wants to talk like that, he should just go into being like a media guy and not like a reporter.
Yeah.
Like, just go start your own show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Be the, I don't know the guy's name, but the guy who hosts like the On3 version of Josh Page's show.
Oh, Pickle?
Yes.
JD Pickle?
Yeah.
Or Pickell? I don't know. Pickell.
It was a good week for me in JD Pickle.
Really?
Because he picked A&M to win the Notre Dame game and then broke it down. So I was on his side for once, and I enjoyed his content.
I like
I don't typically love his content. Let's get back on topic though. The Monday Night Football game, Chargers at Raiders. Big stakes on the show. We have a Geno Smith defender. I almost called him Geno Herbert. Geno Smith defender over here in JP.
They just merge
And
into
two,
one.
we have a Chargers fan here in Sanders, and then I also lean the way of Justin Herbert. And it wasn't a pretty game from Geno Smith at all, and Herbert played pretty well. Chargers win 20-9 on the road. They're now 2-0 and first in the AFC West in the early going of this season. Thoughts from this game, guys?
It was the worst game of Geno's career. It's only the second time he's had a passer rating of 65 or below since he got his second stint starting. So in the last 4 years, he had a passer rating of 37 last night, which I don't remember the number exactly off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure if you just spiked the ball every single play,
It's like
you'd
39?
have a passer rating of 39, if I'm not mistaken.
Somewhere in there.
It's in the 30s.
So the worst game of his career. He's the only quarterback since 2016 to not complete a single pass over 10 yards down the field with at least 10 attempts of that kind in the game. Of course, he threw his 3 picks on the 10 on those 3 of those 10 attempts. He was 24 for 31 for 180 yards, under 10 yards down the field. And, of course, his stats on the game were 24 for 43, 180 yards. So he was good in the underneath game. And then, obviously, he was terrible. All 3 of his picks were in a clean pocket. None of them would have been considered quarterback pressures. So really just kind of like him forcing the ball. I think the biggest takeaway for me was 1, Brock Bowers needs to be healthier.
Sure.
But 2, this team needs to trade for a receiver because they have no reason to not try to contend. Pete Carroll, 74, he's coaching for 2 more years maybe?
Yeah.
Unless you're thinking of upgrading Chip Kelly from offensive coordinator to head coach pretty soon. Geno Smith with his contract and his age, I don't think he wants to lose.
No.
Obviously, why would he want to lose? But at his age too, he's not like he's in for a rebuild, I should say. So this is a team that needs to trade for a receiver, and they need to specifically trade for a guy who can catch a one-on-one 50-50 ball.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Romeo Doubs from the Packers is a name that comes to mind. Maybe you trade for Jawan Jennings, considering the contract dispute that he had with the Niners, although he ends up re-signing a contract. Someone in that kind of market, because Jacoby Myers is very, very productive still, but he's a slot guy. Brock Bowers is not your typical – he's not Tyler Warren. He's not going to go win a bunch of 50-50 balls. And Tyquan Thornton is a speed threat. Trey Tucker is another slot guy. So, unless Jack Beck, who only ran 4 routes last night, all of a sudden just kind of elevates himself, this team needs a receiver. And I think that was kind of my biggest takeaway for the Raiders last night in Geno. I don't expect Geno to play this bad again this season. Like I said, it's the second time he's had a rating of 65 below, and it was a 37 in all of those starts in the past 4 years. He's had a pass rating over 121 out of 50 times. So he will be productive at some point. And I also think, at least at this point, the Chargers defense might be the best defense in football. And that offensive line was, again, not good. Geno is, I think, he's 3rd in terms of how many times he's been pressured as a quarterback through 2 weeks. So that does not help them at all. And then with the inability to run the football, They only ran the ball 13 times last night. I think the takeaway just has to be that maybe not necessarily that it was a fluke. We've got improvements to make, but that was just a bad overall game. We don't expect it to happen that bad again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would push back on. I think that you say the Raiders have no reason to not try to compete. I think I feel like they have some questions on defense outside of Max Crosby. And you might think that if you bring in that weapon, then offensively you can have enough firepower to overcome some of your shortcomings on defense, which is totally fair. But I don't think that you can be like, oh, well, this team, all they're missing is like a
they
big
held the Chargers to 20 points, and we think highly of the Chargers' offense right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I think
they also held New England to 13 last week.
Yeah, I think part of with the Chargers' offense, they got a little conservative because the Raiders just were not doing anything, and so the Chargers not necessarily stopped trying, but they weren't trying to like go for like a kill shot or anything. So I think that's part of what we saw from the Chargers because the first half they were kind of unstoppable. I think Herbert had like 150, 175 yards in the first half through the air and on the ground, so he looked fantastic. And then defensively, as a new Chargers fan, I'm not trying to be overly optimistic about that defense because I think they've gone against the Chiefs' offense, who were missing Rashee Rice and then lose Xavier Worthy in the third snap of the game, and so that kind of makes that game mean less to me. And then this game, I was low on the Raiders' weapons all off season.
The Chargers just beat a 2-15 team, in your opinion.
Yeah, so like I can't agree with you that the Chargers have the best defense in the league right now because I was low on the Chiefs and the Raiders, and so I can't then turn around and be like, we beat the Chiefs and the Raiders, we have the best defense. Like that would be, I don't know what the word, it would be wrong of me. So I can't agree with that right now. I would love for that to be the case, but I said all off season and then going into this game that I was not a huge fan of the Raiders' weapons outside of Genty and Bowers. And Genty, I think, averaged for, what do you have on the night? Rushing 3.9 yards per carry, 11 for 43. His issue now through 2 weeks, I don't have the PFF stuff up right now, so I can't see it. But watching the game, the number of times he was getting hit in the backfield is insane. It's criminal.
He's still averaging getting hit in the back, like negative yards before contact.
Yeah, and that is just a really, for someone who loved Ashton Genty, I mean, I don't know who didn't love Ashton Genty coming out of college. Just an awesome guy. But it was really sad, or it's sad to kind of see how poorly it's going so far. He's averaging 3.6 yards after contact, 3.9 yards per carry. So his yards after contact and his yards per carry are almost the same. But yeah, it was another rough night for that offensive line. So that's affecting Geno Smith and Ashton Genty. What I will say about Geno Smith and those, I feel like the majority of interceptions were, like you said, none of them were like under pressure. They were all forces, either into double coverage or triple coverage, or there was the one where he threw it and the defender jumped it and it wasn't double coverage, but it was tipped and then another guy caught it. So that the secondary for the Chargers did impress me. They were always in the right place, but how much of that was them being in the right place and how much of it was Geno just didn't have time to let any of his wide receivers get open. So there is some like not pushback because like I want it to be true and I do agree that like they looked really good, but I don't know if they're the best like we just haven't seen enough in my opinion.
I mean, I think it's for me it's between them or the Packers at this point.
That's the other team I was going to throw out.
I agree there's like we'll see more and the Packers have played better teams than the Chargers have. Through 2 games, the Chargers' defense is forcing an average depth of target of 3.2 yards.
That's crazy.
Easily the lowest margin in the NFL. That right there is wildly impressive. I know we don't love the Raiders wide receiver room. But man, 8 pass breakups, the 3 picks. They were just more physical than the Raiders wide receivers.
Yeah, their secondary's been insane.
Out-physicaled them. They just played so aggressive. They weren't too worried about the top getting taken. They just were just driving and charging down on anything underneath and making play after play. I loved it. It was so fun to watch. It was perfect. I came away so impressed with that defense.
And they did it without Khalil Mack for, I think, over a half. I haven't been on Twitter. I need to check Twitter and see if we have any updates on that. initially watching it, and this is just like I thought it was wrist initially because he came up and was like holding his wrist. Turns out it was elbow, I believe, and so he was just like supporting his arm.
Yeah.
Got his arm
Elbow hyperextension.
hyperextended.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got like went in, like punch a ball out, and then got his arm caught, and then someone came in from behind and hit him in the back of the elbow. So hyperextension. Hopefully nothing like torn. It'll just be something that takes like, I don't know what the typical time frame for that is, but hopefully nothing major. Couple weeks. I don't know.
There's no way
I'm
really to
just
know.
guessing. I'm just
there's
guessing.
no way to
I
really
hope
know.
it's soon. That
Sure.
was really like that terrified me seeing him go down. Especially not having like a Joey Bosa, prime Joey Bosa on the other side to kind of fill that void. But Chargers defense looked fantastic even with the loss of Khalil Mack pretty early in that game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
I was going to say their secondary's been incredible. Tariq Still, who they were high on in the preseason, has been terrific. Tony Jefferson, the old guy, has been great as well. He had a pick, one of the picks last night. And then Cam Hart was good. And, of course, Derwin James. Derwin James actually played bad last night. He missed 5 tackles last night.
Man, Derwin, come on, bro.
All of last season, he only missed 6. So,
Wow.
Really uncharacteristic for Derwin James. But go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna answer. I was gonna transition to the Chargers offense, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer Harris's question first.
Oh.
I think it's more on Geno, at least for the picks, because we talked about how he wasn't pressured on any of the picks. Now, there you could say, well, he was consistently getting pressured, so maybe he expected to get pressured. But the picks were at least largely on him.
Yeah.
And to his,
I mean, we can go through them. The first pick was the first play of the game. It's just a straight up miss.
yeah,
The pick where Derwin James gets it late in the game was a force. Like, Derwin James was just sitting there, essentially playing Mike in the center of the field. And they play cover 3, and Derwin drops back, and he takes the one-on-one matchup of Jacoby Myers and Derwin James.
yeah.
I don't think you're going to win that very often ever. So that was kind of his mistake. And then the other pick, I don't remember off the top of my head. That was the one that just deflected, right?
Well,
No, that was Derwin James.
That was the third was basically the arm punt towards the end of the first
That's right.
half where Tony Jefferson caught it, and that one was a force, but I think part of it was the situation of the game, it being third down, and that's the thing with Geno is he's not gonna just play it safe all game. At some point he's gonna let it rip whether it's really there or not, and so you're gonna get chances to pick off a couple passes, and the Chargers capitalized every time he threw. Or almost every time he threw a dangerous ball, they caught it. They didn't drop a pick that hit him in the hands or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now transitioning to the Chargers offense, what did we see that we liked? What did we see that we disliked? The run game really wasn't there again.
Not at all.
But the passing game was good. Sanders, I'll kick it to you first as the Chargers fan.
I love seeing Quentin Johnston have another good game because, and I don't think we've talked about this too much. We talked about it last night, just goofing around. But yeah, I had a lot of concerns about the Chargers' weapons, offensive receivers coming in to this season. Ladd McConkey had a good rookie year, and then you bring in Keenan Allen, who wasn't great last year, and he's older, 32, 33, maybe the oldest receiver in the NFL. I saw a TikTok about that, but he's up there. And then Quentin Johnston, who has not been able to catch balls since entering the NFL. This is year 3, I think.
Year 2.
This is only year 2 for him?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be year 3, right?
It's got to be because he got drafted after
You're
the
right, it's
TCU.
year 3.
Yeah, year 3 for Johnston. So I was nervous about the weapons, and that now they've looked good through 2 weeks, which is twice as much as 1 week. So that's 100% more data, which I love to see. But Johnston was great. 3 receptions, 71 yards. He had that long touchdown, 60 yards. He was open on a couple others. I'm going to be honest. There were several other open options that Herbert missed throughout the game, which brings me back to I feel like they weren't locked in. Like, I feel like they could have had an even better game than they did, scoring only 20 points, which is a little concerning. I don't like taking check downs when you've got a guy open over the top through the middle. But Keenan Allen, another good night, 5 receptions, 61 yards, another touchdown. But yeah, the run game was lacking. Herbert he led the team in rushing, 9 rushes, 31 yards, averaged 3.4 yards per carry. Omarion Hampton had 8 rushes, averaged 3 yards per carry. And then Najee Harris was our most efficient runner, 8 rushes, 28 yards, 3.5 yards per carry.
Justin Herbert has led the team in rushing yards both games.
Yeah.
The only other team where a quarterback has led the team in rushing yards both games is
The Commanders?
the Kansas City Chiefs right now. And so that
not where you wanna be.
has to be a concern.
Yeah,
If we
100%.
talked about with Kansas City that offensively there's deep concerns there. I will say they are throwing the ball a ton. They threw it 66% of the time week 1, and then I think it was 56% of the time last night. So they're throwing it a lot more than they
which I think now we know why.
were expected to, and I think yes, that's a fair statement of that. That's kind of what they're being forced into doing. But I think for me, offensively they've looked really good. But how confident are you that Quentin Johnston's 2 games here are the new Quentin Johnston, the one we saw at TCU, or do you think it's more likely he returns to what he was in the prior 2 years? How confident are you that Keenan Allen plays every single game this year?
Not
at all. Ladd McConkey, we expect to still be good. They have essentially no option at tight end, like Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin are 2 tight ends. I think they have 2 catches through 2 games. Omarion Hampton out of the backfield hasn't been the passing threat that we expected.
Neither rookie has popped off in terms of Keandre Lambert-Smith or Trey Harris.
Correct. And offensive line is already kind of banged up, and who's to say it couldn't get worse? So I think there has to just be a little bit of pumping the brakes, because I don't know if you can guarantee that this is something that is going to play out throughout the entire year. In fact, I don't think it will. And I also think Herbert is putting himself in danger by running as much as he is, as much as I said it about Mahomes earlier. There were multiple plays last night, specifically 2 come to mind. There's the one where it was the late, dirty hit, which is partially on Justin Herbert for not getting down. I don't think he really should be on the defensive player at all. What's he supposed to do? If you watch that full speed, like there's really nothing he can do. But still, that's Herbert putting himself in a spot where he takes a hit to the head. Concussions hurt quarterbacks a ton. Think of Tua. And then late in the game, just before the 2-minute warning, they run a naked bootleg to Justin Herbert, and he rolls out and he runs and he slides and he takes a really weird slide.
Terrible slide from the boy.
Tears his leg sleeve off essentially on his knee. And then also they don't really show it well on camera, but he gets up and he's wincing and he's holding his back. And so are we sure Justin Herbert can stay healthy? I think those are the concerns with how good they've looked offensively. Health is a huge concern, and then the Justin Herbert concern. I think you just got to pump the brakes just for a second on the Chargers. As good as they've looked offensively and defensively through 2 games.
So you're thinking Broncos win the AFC? I'm just messing there. I 100% agree.
I can ask that question right now. Like, would you pick the Chargers to win the AFC West right now?
Right now?
They are the favorite at -110. The Chiefs are +290.
I would not bet
on them. The Broncos are +330.
I would bet on the Chiefs. I would not bet on the Chargers.
Who would you pick right now to win the AFC West?
Chargers. But I'd bet on the Chiefs.
I'd pick the Chargers. I don't love it, but I haven't loved what I've seen from the other teams in this division.
If I can get the Chiefs at plus money, I'm taking the Chiefs.
Because I also want to point out, I agree the skill positions aren't deep, and the running game has been poor. I actually think Najee Harris looked better than Omarion Hampton.
I agree.
Which is not at all what you want to see if you're a Chargers fan, just considering the hype around Hampton.
Yeah.
Harris talking about the 4th-and-1 play call. I do want to touch on that because I thought that was about I hated that play call, and I hated the Justin Herbert, roll out that he ends up taking the bad slide on. 'Cause I think it's unnecessary at that point in the game. And then you have the Hampton fumble that they actually gave to Justin Herbert. But
really?
They did give it to Justin Herbert. I don't love the play calling down the stretch. But the one thing I want to touch on...
They also gave the fumble on that Trey Harris handoff to Herbert as well.
Oh.
So he had 2 fumbles.
That's crazy.
Sick. The pass blocking has been fantastic for the Chargers, and that's really, I think, why they've been so good in the passing game is because Herbert just sits back there and can stand and deliver, which is fantastic because we didn't know how to look with Rashawn Slater out. But that's something I've loved, and that is something I think they can keep up barring injury. But, I mean, every team, it's like barring injury, what do you see? But I've just loved the pass blocking.
Yeah, speaking of that, on play action last night, Herbert was 7 for 10 for 135 yards and threw both of his touchdowns. So pass blocking has been terrific, even in play action, where you're typically not going to have as good of pass blocking.
Yeah.
That has been a great sight to see. The clean pockets that Herbert's had, which is why I have more of a problem with what he's doing, putting himself in danger running, because your pocket has been so clean. Just give it to your backs or your receivers. But their pass blocking has been great. As you said, they're 2 weeks so far.
Yeah. And on the Najee thing, I agree that like it is a little frustrating because like you invested a first round pick in Hampton, but now the season started. That first round pick is a sunk cost. Now I'm just like, okay, Najee looks good. I'm not going to be mad about having running back. Like, it sucks that he looks better than your first-round pick, but he looks good. So, like, that's good. That's a good thing. And I'm also not too terribly surprised, given that Najee was talented coming out of college and then just played for the Steelers for 4 years. So I was always, like, I thought he had more talent than he was able to display there. Even, I think he was a 1,000-yard rusher several years, if not all 4 years. So
all 4 years.
Yeah, he was able to put up numbers there. But he was drafted to fix the Steelers' run game when the Steelers had, like, problems rooted in the O-line. That was the issues with their run game. And so now you put him at Los Angeles. The run game hasn't been great, but he's probably been the best part about it other than Herbert. So I would love to lean on him more and then get Hampton fixed. I don't know what the issue with Hampton is right now. He had a couple big plays. He had a 15-yard rush, which was longer than Najee's long of 7 yards. But just didn't have, like, enough on his shorter stuff.
Sure. I mean, he's just not as good between the tackles right now as Najee is. And, I mean, the 15-yard rush came on, he got on the outside, and he did great to stay up on, the ankle tackle.
Yeah.
But that's very fair. Any other thoughts on this game before we move on to the Pucylowski pyramid? Sick. Go Chargers, 2-0. Couldn't ask for a better start to the season.
Absolutely not.
Chargers catchphrase is what, Sanders?
I think I know it if he does it. And that's
I did know it,
The
and
Saints
I forgot.
are who dat.
It's on. It's literally on the jump video board. It's on the bottom of the video board, and there was a meme about it like a couple weeks ago, and I had to ask someone about it because I didn't get it, and I don't remember what it is.
Bolt up.
Bolt up.
Yep.
Got to work on that one.
I will. Hey, I was very proud. So, me choosing to be a Padres fan, people were like, why? And they try to make fun of me. I remember Elliot asked me at one point, he was like, what's the name of the park they play in? And I told him because I'd watched like every game that summer, Petco Park. And he was like, oh, good job. And I was just like, that's right. I'm not a fake fan. I know what park they play in. Chargers play in SoFi Stadium. All right, let's do
the Rams.
Whose
house? Rams' house.
You ready? Pucylowski pyramid.
Yeah, we'll start with the teams left off. All of the teams that were left off last week lost.
So they get to stay left off.
And they all lost in, like, bad fashion. Dolphins kind of choke away the game against the Patriots where they return a punt for a touchdown. The next play, they take the lead off that touchdown. They kick the ball off to the Patriots and give off a kick return touchdown. And then they just couldn't score to take the lead again in the fourth. So bad look. Tua was bad again, I'd argue. Tyreek is clearly frustrated. Maybe the Raiders need to trade for Tyreek, although he's not
about to say that's
1v1 threat at all.
Not,
but he would
not
help.
at all what you said.
He would help. You can't tell me he wouldn't help.
I think he would help any wide receiver room.
The Browns were not good. They did not cover the 11-point spread. In fact, they would not have covered a 29-point spread against the Ravens. They kind of got destroyed. The Ravens stadium was empty in the fourth quarter, and that's usually not a good sign. Panthers were given every single possible chance to somehow win that game against the Cardinals. Kyler threw one of the most inexplicable picks ever, but Bryce Young is terrible. I think that's the only takeaway you can have. And they don't get it done. And then the Titans Did not look necessarily that great against the Rams, losing 33-19. So that is the teams left off, which brings us to Tier 7. And the teams in red versus teams in green. Teams in red have dropped down. The Vikings have dropped massively. They were on Tier 3 last week, and here they are at Tier 7. McCarthy has been sacked through 2 games 11 times. He's tied second in the league in picks. And the Vikings are just averaging 226 yards per game as an offense. The Cowboys, the secondary is cooked. Communication has been terrible defensively. They've allowed points on 11 of 19 drives through 2 games against the Giants and Eagles, who we don't think are necessarily all that great offensively. We definitely don't expect it out of Russell Wilson, and he throws for almost 500 yards. The Bears have given up 10 touchdowns through 2 games. The second closest team in the NFL has given up 7. So not a good look through 2 weeks for the Bears in their division against the Lions and the Vikings. The Patriots snuck out a win against the Dolphins, so I don't know if that's not enough for me to move them up. And then seeing how the Raiders looked on Monday night, to lose to the Raiders week 1, and for Geno to throw as many yards as he did week 1, how good are the Patriots really? The Jets have dropped down to the 7th tier. Defense is really kind of been the Jets' MO. And with Aaron Glenn, you expected it to be the MO. Again, he's a defensive coordinator coming over to be a head coach. They've allowed the most points per game in the NFL, 32. The Saints, first downs have been given up by their defense on 3rd and 7, 14, 6, 5, 13, 10, 11, 9. I'm not done. 10, 12, and 11 through 2 games. That is 7 first downs of 10 yards or more, and first downs, of course, on 7, 6, 5, and 9. The defense cannot get off the field. Spencer Rattler is playing actually really good, and only 2 of these are due to penalty as well. So this is giving up big plays on 3rd down. They cannot generate a pass rush whatsoever. Chase Young needs to return as fast as possible, but they've been in these games. They've had the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead in both games, and so you can't leave them off the tiers as much as I honestly would like to, because that is a terrible stat on the first downs. The Giants, through 2 games, are allowing 455 yards per game with what was supposed to be the strength of their team, the defense. So not a good look for them. Let's go to Tier 6. We're going to get progressively better stats as we go on, ideally. Knicks has been pressured the least in the league by far through 2 weeks, just 12 times. Yet they're 1-1, and they've looked kind of bad against the Titans, and they lose in a bad way against the Colts as well. I also just have questions about like their offensive decision-making. Like, why is Troy Franklin our leading receiver against the Colts? We're not using Cortland Sutton. We have Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is healthy. No issue. He had a calf injury early in the week. He touches the ball just once against the Colts last week. R.J. Harvey, you spent high draft capital on him. He's barely touching the ball through 2 games. J.K. Dobbins is getting a load of the carries. As good of an offensive mind as Sean Payton is, offensively they've just kind of been huge question marks. And then the defense did not look great against the Colts, which, who knows, maybe they're the greatest offense ever through 2 games. I have an interesting point on that coming up, though. Cardinals are 2-0 against arguably 2 of the worst teams in the league, the Saints and the Panthers, so I don't know if that's a great 2-0 yet. We'll see how that continues. The Jaguars, offensively, where is Brian Thomas Jr.? There's been questions about his effort, but they also just kind of haven't connected with him. And then to choke that game against Jake Browning, where Jake Browning throws 3 picks, they go for it on 4th and 5, essentially 4th and goal, don't convert. And then they're scared of Jake Browning, who's thrown 3 picks in the game, I might add. And they play essentially prevent coverage, just let the Bengals drive down the field, and Jake Browning ends up winning the game. They have to drop. The Bengals, Joe Burrow is out for 3 months. Browning is 6-6 as a starter. Because of that, I think they have to drop down the tiers. The 49ers, impressive 2 victories. Honestly, the injuries are super troubling though, so I don't think they can move up. Brock Purdy is expected to miss probably 2 to 3 weeks. George Kittle's hurt. Just some questions there. Christian McCaffrey is touching the ball way more than they ever expected. And because of that, I think you're leading more closely to a Christian McCaffrey injury before you know it.
Yep.
The Raiders have to drop. They were awful against the Chargers. Like I said earlier, they need to trade for a wide receiver of some kind. Tier 5. This is teams that are moving up because of all those teams that have moved down. The Steelers have been impressive offensively in both games. I'd argue Rodgers is slinging it like he looks like Packers Aaron Rodgers in a lot of these clips that you're seeing. On the All-22, he looks insane. And I would argue they lost to a good team in the Seattle Seahawks, and giving up the touchdown, Caleb Johnson, on the kickoff is kind of inexplicable. Rodgers threw 2 picks, but I think the Seattle defense is really, really good. And the biggest question for them, I would not put it on Rodgers and the offense. Defensively, they've been bad through 2 games, giving up 24 to Sam Darnold, and then giving up 32 to Justin Fields. And we saw how Justin Fields looked against the Bills. So Steelers, the question right now is defensively, not offensively. The Falcons move up with their impressive win in primetime. Penix looks and plays the part. The run game has just been utterly dominant. The Lions, the duality of man. The first game against the Packers, they get destroyed. Play calling is not innovative at all. They really don't have any of their fun plays. They're not throwing the ball well down the field. Then they play the Bears, and they score 52 points and a bunch of touchdowns. I wonder how much of that was just like a motivation game, just we're playing against Ben Johnson, let's go out there and destroy him. I mean, you saw the celebration by the Lions defense where they're mimicking one of Ben Johnson's trick plays. So we'll see how they are this coming week when they go to Baltimore on Monday Night Football, if they are the team in week 2 or the team in week 1. The Commanders stay put. I guess you could argue that they would move down, but I think the Packers are that good. Jaden Daniels, I will say, though, has been sacked 7 times already. He was pressured 21 times against the Packers.
As a Commanders fan, it was disastrous. The left side of their line with Connerly, and then I'm blanking on his name, but no Sam Cosmi's really hurting.
Absolutely.
So it was bad.
Seattle moves up. They lead the league in pressure rate at 49% of dropbacks, meaning if a quarterback is throwing the ball, they pressure him 1 out of every 2 plays. Their defensive line has been insane through 2 games against, kind of good offensive lines with the 49ers and the Steelers. Sam Darnold, if he doesn't fumble, like if they don't get Abraham Lucas doesn't get pushed back by Nick Bosa, this is a 2-0 Seattle Seahawks. They were really impressive last week and a big win at the Steelers. Now we move to Tier 4. Kansas City Chiefs have to drop. Serious run game questions, serious pass rush questions. They still do have Mahomes, I will say. The Texans, serious run game questions as well. No pass rush questions whatsoever. But can they fight out of an 0-2 start? Like I said earlier, teams that made the playoffs last year and they were 0-2 to start the next year make the postseason 5 out of 12 times. So about a 50-50 chance for the Texans to make the playoffs, and the Chiefs as well. Some questions to be answered for the 2 0-2 teams, but I think given their pedigree, they deserve to be this high on the tiers. The Rams have been dominant defensively, and then last week I think you saw against the Titans, who we kind of think is a good defense. They can sling the ball all over the field. Like with Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, they really look good offensively. They have not really established their ground game. But Stafford, the back issues were a huge question coming to the season.
Looks pretty good.
No questions through 2 weeks. Tier 3, the Buccaneers.
You skipped the Colts.
Oh, I skipped it. My bad.
You good?
The Colts,
I wanna
they
hear
move
about
up. they have not punted through 2 games, and so they have earned the right to be here. I will say, this comparison was made on national TV earlier today, and it pains me for this comparison to be made, but I think it's a valid one. High prolific offense, haven't punted through 2 games, kind of a question mark quarterback career, but they look dominant offensively. What does that remind you of? Last year, that team, Derek Carr, dominant offensively. They punted once through 2 games. How did that season turn out for them? I don't know if that's the Colts this year. We'll see.
And the Colts have played the Dolphins and the
Broncos.
The Broncos. The Saints, through those 2 games, played the Panthers, who were terrible, of course, and then the Cowboys, who ended up being bad because Dak got hurt. But let's pump the brakes. But on that they deserve to be this high. They haven't punted through 2 games. They've just looked so good offensively. They scored on their first 10 possessions to start the season, which is insane.
Have they only had 10 possessions?
Their first 10.
So what happened?
First 7 in the first
No, what
game.
happened the 11th if it wasn't a punt, like a pick?
11th, I think, was a punt.
But they haven't. Are the Saints or the Colts?
Or it wasn't a punt. It would have been
interception or something.
Fumble, maybe.
Interception or fumble,
okay.
yeah.
That's okay. Cool. Tier 3?
Or maybe it was like it ended a half
or
a half
something.
ended or something.
Yep. That'd make sense. Tier 3?
Tier 3. Buccaneers. Bakers led 2 game-winning drives without a left tackle in Tristan Wirfs, without Chris Godwin. They also lost their right tackle very early in the game. I mean, the plays he makes to win them that game are massive. They cannot be understated. They look very early on like a true contender in the NFC, a team to contend with the Packers and the Eagles. They, I would argue, are in the same tier as those teams, maybe a step behind the Packers, as you'll see in a second. The Chargers have been defensively dominant. One thing I'll say positively, offensively, they are trusting their players to go for it on the 4th downs that they did last night, and to trust Quentin Johnston, to trust Keenan Allen through the first 2 weeks. I think that really is a great statement. They need some kind of run game. Justin Herbert can't be the leading rusher through 2 weeks in both games. That can't happen. That can't continue to happen. But you kind of can't argue that they've been one of the most impressive teams in football through 2 weeks. The Eagles, they are passing just 40% of the time. They continue to win with their defense and simply controlling football games. But they deserve to be this high. They have won 17 of their last 18 games dating back to last season. They've just been dominant. They don't lose. Their only loss was when Jalen Hurts got a concussion, and they ended up losing to the Commanders. So they deserve to be here on Tier 3. Tier 2, Packers and the Ravens. The Packers, 2 straight dominant defensive performance against, like I said, top-tier NFC contenders, top-tier NFC offenses. And to be that dominant defensively, to pressure Jaden Daniels 21 times, to really kind of just take the life out of the Commanders and Lions offense through 2 weeks is insane. Micah Parsons really makes that kind of effect. What are you doing, Jerry? And then offensively, they've missed opportunities. Matthew Golden missed 2 big plays last week. They end up, they have the touchdown to Jaden Reed, but it's called back due to a penalty, and he gets hurt. They missed a field goal against the Commanders on last Thursday. So I don't even think their offense is fully clicking yet.
Shout out Tucker Kraft, though.
Tucker Kraft was great.
Incredible.
Their defense has honestly earned them to be Tier 2, even with the kind of struggles offensively. The Ravens stay at Tier 2 as well. 40.5 points per game through 2 games. And here's the crazy stat. They're not even top 10 in total yards. And they lead the league in points per game.
So that means defense is getting turnovers, special teams.
They're getting short fields, and they're taking advantage of it. They have scored on 13 of their 22 drives this year. just prolific. And that leads to the team at the top of the tiers, which has a better stat than that. The Buffalo Bills have scored on 14 of their 21 drives. And the defense was elite Sunday against a Jets team that scored 32 against an elite, we think, defense in the Steelers. Their defense on Sunday against the Jets forced 7 punts, 4 3-and-outs. So they defensively kind of answered, I think, questions after how the Ravens looked against them week 1. Josh Allen wasn't great statistically, but he really didn't have to be. And this, I think, is still the best team in football. The argument against putting the Ravens up there, they beat them.
Sure.
And I think the Packers just haven't looked as good offensively for them to be at the top of the tier. So the Bills remain at the top of the tiers, or the top of the pyramid, I should say, through week 2. Questions, concerns, thoughts?
Well, as always, I've brought my one. I found one disagreement I had with it, or my biggest disagreement. But before I get there, I just feel like the top 2 tiers it's just massive separation from tier 2 to tier 3. To me, those are the 3 best teams in football right now.
I mean, I think I could see an argument that I think the Bucks could hang with any of those 3 teams, and then I think that you kind of have to trust the Eagles to hang with any of those 3 teams, given that they just beat the Super Bowl runner-ups.
I'm just saying what we've seen from the 2 weeks in terms of play on the field.
Yeah.
I don't really have almost any questions about those top 3 teams. The Bucks, for example, the O-line, I know it's injured right now, but it's just right now it's been concerning. It's been an issue. The Chargers' inability to run the football. The Eagles' inability to have any sort of explosive offense. I'm not making long-term projections like they're going to be the 1 and 2 seed in the AFC and the 1 seed in the NFC.
Right.
But since it's more of a power ranking, right now, I think that's just so clearly to me. There's a little baby pyramid on top that is vastly ahead of the other teams. My mini qualm, and it's not a big one. I think you've done very well with this list, JP. I would swap Seattle and Houston. Houston's 0-2, and I know their defenses look great.
Sure.
But the offense just still is not there. The offensive line still is not playing well. And I know Seattle lost week 1, but it was a close one. They were right there to a pretty solid San Francisco team, and that defense looks fantastic. And I've been impressed with Sam Darnold through the first 2 weeks for the most part. So I would flip those 2 teams. But, I mean, it's a small qualm.
I don't disagree. I would like to switch those teams as well. I did pick Seattle to make the postseason.
Sure.
And I think they've just, with defensively, they've been just so impressive. Like I said, 49.4% of dropbacks, essentially 1 out of every 2, they pressure the quarterback. They've been just prolific defensively. I can't wait to hear what Seattle radio has to say this week. Last week, they were pissed.
Because they shouldn't have lost that game.
Yeah, they felt like they shouldn't have lost that game. So I'm curious to see what they'll say after this week. But I actually don't disagree with that at all.
Sure.
Yeah. The Bengals, I could almost see being lower. Just without Burrow at quarterback, it's going to be really interesting to see what the backup looks like. That's the issue is do you power rank based on what you've seen or what you expect to see going forward? And I guess you do it. It's kind of both, right? Because it is a power ranking. I mean, maybe you could put the Cowboys instead of the Bengals, just because that. But now the close loss to the Eagles, we're seeing the Eagles struggle to force the ball down the field against the Chiefs. I think it's a good list. The only reason I said that one is because I was I wanted to come up with something. I like the list. I don't see too many. I think last week I had a bigger issue with it and addressed, not issue, but my switch or whatever, addressed that. I think teams are settling more into place now. Next week I'll have to look at it harder and find something to move around, but I think it's good this week.
Yeah, I think Bengals are just better than the Cowboys. Defensively, they closed out the game both weeks against the Browns. And the Jaguars. Trey Henderson gets the game-winning sack against the Jaguars. They stop the Jaguars on 4th and 5, essentially 4th and goal, week 1 they turned Joe Flacco over a couple times, and then they didn't block field goal or extra point, but they kind of force a missed field goal and extra point for the Browns. So I think defensively they've been kind of a positive, I'd say, through 2 weeks. And Jake Browning, while he threw 3 picks, led a 96 or 94-yard game-winning drive. So I think that offense still could compete to the same level that the Cowboys' offense has been through 2 weeks. The Cowboys defensively have looked terrible, especially on tape. They were great post-weather delay against the Eagles, but pre-weather delay they gave up points on all 5 drives, or all 4 drives. And against the Giants, obviously, they gave up a ton of points.
Yeah, especially now that Deron Bland is out, we are looking at an all-time bad secondary.
Trayvon Diggs he gave up 2 touchdowns.
He's not been good
last week, where
all.
he is. I wouldn't even know if it's poor communication. It's because when you watch it on film, it's not poor communication. It's him just not doing what they were called to do. The first one, he gives up a deep touchdown to Malik Neighbors. They're in cover 4, and he's the outside safety. And he goes up and press coverages Malik Neighbors, which I guess he's earned the right to do that, and that can happen. And then he doesn't stay with Neighbors, and he just lets him get beat deep. And your interior safety, the left one, doesn't get there over there in time. They just score a touchdown for free. The second one, which goes to Wan'Dale Robinson, again on a deep ball from Russell Wilson, they're in cover 3. He's trying to tell Donovan Wilson, his interior safeties, he's basically saying, hey, he's brushing his shoulder pre-play, and he's to Donovan Wilson saying, hey, you got to cover my inside right here. And they're in cover 3. And he communicates that, and you could see Donovan Wilson kind of like point him and say, like he kind of points at him almost to say, like, no, that's you. You got to get that. I've got to cover this over-the-middle kind of route, which there ends up being an over-the-middle route to Theo Johnson. Donovan Wilson bites on that. Trayvon Diggs, for whatever reason, doesn't stay deep. Wan'Dale Robinson touchdown. He's their best corner, supposed to be. And he gave up 2 touchdowns essentially for free. That, like you said, the defense has just been so bad. And it's not even like a scheme, and part of it's player personnel, but also like Trayvon Diggs, who's supposed to be a leader, he's a captain for the team, has been terrible as well. I just don't. I don't see the argument for moving them up with the Bengals. I think Bengals are 2-0. They still could show a pulse offensively with Jake Browning. They're 6-6 with him as a starter. And defensively, they've won both games at the end, while they weren't great for the entire game.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, let's answer Harris's question and get on out of here.
Sure.
JP, this pass chart I had, you never called for it.
Oh, this was Jalen Hurts. This was Jalen Hurts' pass chart against the Chiefs. As you can see, only 2 attempts, 10 yards down the field. One of them, actually 4 attempts. There's 2 over there on the sideline.
A couple are hiding.
Completely out of bounds. But, yeah, so this is a guy who just wasn't throwing the ball down the field whatsoever.
Well, cool.
It's a sight to behold.
Hey, you got a lot of green on there. That's what matters, right?
True.
All right. Harris is basically asking out of all the backup quarterbacks that may start this week, because we got a good number for this early in the season, which one's going to perform the best and which one has the best chance of pulling out a win. And to that, I immediately went and looked at the Week 3 schedule, trying to see who played what. Immediately what sticks out to me is Mac Jones, who had a pretty good game for the 49ers last week, gets to play the Cardinals. And I like that matchup for him a lot, to play well and win again.
And they're at home.
So that's what sticks out to me. I also will say the Bengals and the Vikings play each other. So you're going to get a backup versus backup matchup there, and Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning. So one of them is going to have to win that. I guess that's not true. They could tie.
True. That is a thing that can happen.
That is a thing that can happen.
Jets go to the Buccaneers.
I don't see that one happening.
Do not like Tyrod Taylor to have a good game there.
Marcus Mariota could win with the Commanders. They play the Raiders. The Raiders come to the Commanders off a short week, and the Commanders played on Thursday night, so they'll be on about 10 days of rest. So I actually do like that for Marcus Mariota, but it doesn't really feel like he's pulling out a win against the Raiders there.
That'll be
yeah.
I mean, is he in line to start?
I was also about to say that, so thanks for bringing it up. I think Jay Daniels is going to play.
Yeah.
So I think that one's a moot point. Based on what I've heard, it sounds like he tweaked his knee, but he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I play through that at Engelball all the time.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool.
Good show, boys. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. It means a lot. Shout out Harrison Cromie for being active in the chat, as well as Sven. We'll give you a shout out as well. Hail State as always, Sven. That's his go-to. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back for you all Thursday to preview both college football and NFL for the upcoming weekend.
Yep. If you don't follow us on Twitter, go do that, and then you can drop in the comments what game you would like to have as the Technical Foul game of the week. That's been really fun. We've had the Duke Illinois game was an elite game, and then South Carolina Vandy was a game of the week. It was not a great game.
SMU Baylor was our fan game of the week, I believe, from that week. I think we were.
Yes, it was. It was overtime. Yep, the SMU Baylor game was the game of the week, and it was a fantastic game. Thank you. That's the game Tucker picked. Overtime. Great pick there. And then last week, Vandy, South Carolina was not a good game, but it was a fun conversation. So y'all get to go and drop your suggestions, and then we'll pick either. If we have more than one comment, we'll pick probably the most popular one. So far, the most we've had on the tweet is 2 comments. So no voting multiple times, but go drop what you would like to see us talk about.
Cool. See y'all next time. Peace.
See ya.